This offseason was a rollercoaster ride. But how are teams shaping up? Here are my power rankings. The Bears didn't have a first round pick because the front office traded up in previous year's draft to select their guy, Justin Fields. But how much did they help him this offseason? His number one receiver, Allen Robinson, left and his offensive line is in shambles. With the draft, Chicago improved its defense with the first two selections, but there are a lot of question marks remaining. It's going to be tough next year. With Matt Ryan playing for the Colts and Ridley suspended, it's obvious that the Falcons are looking to start over on offense. With the addition of Pitts previous year and London this year, Mariota or Desmond Ridder have some excellent targets to throw the ball to. The defense still looking for its identity, and although the front office picked up some excellent pieces, they still have a long way to go. But hey, Rome wasn't built in one day either. This year's draft was the official sign for a reboot of this troubled franchise. Watson is now someone else's problem, and Mills, who was a pleasant surprise the previous year, the signal caller in 2022. The front office added players and added much needed quality injections at every position possible. There are no shortcuts if you want to be a contender, so the Texans will play the long game. The front office of the Jaguars were quite busy this offseason and brought in some excellent players, but overpaid on several occasions. Via the draft, they've added talent as well and shocked most football fans when they passed on Hutchinson. If the Jags want to rise in the power rankings, they must hope that Lawrence will progress his game and show that his performance against the Colts in the last game of the 2021 season was no fluke. It's time to recognize the possibility that Drew Lock and Geno Smith are the only QBs on the roster in the post-Wilson era. After trading away the franchise QB and cutting Bobby Wagner, it was obvious. The Seahawks are in a complete rebuild. We're going to see where it leads, but next year the Hawks won't be a contender for the Lombardi Trophy. The Giants declined the fifth-year option of Danny Dimes, and the future will tell if this was the smartest move. But if he balls out this season, the Giants will have to live with the financial fallout. The front office did bring in some playmakers on skill positions via the draft, and these will bring in some much needed good vibes in the Big Apple. The Panthers did a solid job not drafting a QB with the 6th overall pick and instead addressed another glaring need: tackle. With the addition of other offensive line pieces, Darnold should have more time to go through his reads, and if he doesn't live up to Rhule's standards, he could give Corral a try, who fell to the Panthers in the 3rd round. The Commanders have playmakers galore on the offensive side of the ball and added Dodson to the mix via the draft. Wentz is a starter from day one, but Howell is an intriguing prospect who they drafted in the 5th round and could be making his debut if Wentz finds himself stuck in the mud. The defensive line is considered to be one of the best in the NFL and will be terrorizing their rivals in the NFC East. The Lions are a likable team who are the big underdog in the NFC North. But the draft showed the world that they are on the right track. Hutchinson is a hometown kid who will contribute right away. And via the draft and free agency, Detroit added some offensive playmakers as well. Goff is this year's bridge quarterback once again, but the Lions are building something out there. Hard Knocks will be a lot of fun to watch later this year. The Jets were the laughingstock a couple of seasons ago when Adam Gase was the head coach. But since then, a lot has changed. This offseason, the front office added several playmakers via free agency and knocked the ball out of the park with the draft. To the surprise of many, the Jets have now a very compelling roster on both sides of the ball. The pressure on Wilson to make it all work is tremendous. The front office of the Vikings decided to trade down 20 spots in the 1st round for an extra 3rd round pick. In doing so, they missed out on Kyle Hamilton, the unicorn safety, to settle for another safety with a 32nd pick. The defense did, however, improve, and it will be interesting to see if Kirk Cousins will play at the same level as 2021, where he played quite well. The Saints had a great 1st round and picked up a complimentary piece from Michael Thomas, who will be back next season, and replaced the void that Armstead left behind by drafting Penning. The defense got stronger as well, with May and Matthew. With that being said, the rise of the Saints lies in the hands of the recovering Jameis Winston, who had constructive knee surgery this offseason. But if he finds his rhythm, the Saints could contend for the NFC South. The Steelers did not take that long to find the answer on the question, who will sling the rock next season? First, the front office signed Trubisky and then took the first quarterback off the board by drafting Pickett. The offensive line and defense got some nice quality ejections via free agency as well. The future of this always contending franchise is much brighter than a few months ago. The Pats felt short-handed last season in the race for the AFC title and could use some much-needed firepower on skill positions in the arms race that is the AFC. Bill Belichick obviously knew what he did when he drafted Cole Strange. He always knows what he's doing, but we would have liked a more aggressive approach to secure a receiver to address the lack of playmakers in the wide receiver room. The Patriots haven't got any better if you look at the roster, but they always seem to contend for a playoff spot. AJ Brown is no longer a Titan, and it feels weird to see him as an Eagle, but this is something the franchise must overcome. Burks is a nice addition who needs to fill the void that Brown left behind. Mike Vrabel was probably pleased that Willis fell to him in the third round, but the QB controversy almost immediately started when Tannehill made some remarks about mentoring the young gun on the roster. With that being said, the Titans are still a force to be reckoned with. The Browns will be an AFC superpower in years to come, but are currently a bit of a mess, and that has everything to do with Deshaun Watson. If he plays, the Browns are ranked way higher than the 17th spot. If he doesn't, they drop a bit. But not that much due to the fact that the Browns have a defense full of playmakers, plus they can run the ball very well. The Browns are intriguing and close to being a serious contender. The quarterback position has been a revolving door in Indianapolis after the surprising retirement of Andrew Luck 3 seasons ago. The front office believes that after the failed experiments with Rivers and Wentz, they found a guy in Matt Ryan who will turn 37 before the season starts. The Colts have a solid base to operate from with a high-performing defense, solid offensive line and an excellent run game. The Cowboys lost some important pieces this offseason and tried to fill the void they left behind in the draft. So the front office tried to solidify one of the best offensive lines in the NFL with the first round pick, but came up short of replacing Amari Cooper. The defense, however, didn't really get the same attention, and that could hurt them in the NFC East, where the Eagles made some serious strides to close the gap. The front office of the Cardinals are trying to appease their guy. With the latest move, they even reunited Marquise Brown, a former teammate, with Murray for a first and third round pick. Brown didn't exactly live up to the expectations, so it's a little bit of a gamble, but he will be the focal point of the offense since Hopkins is suspended for the first 6 games. With the remaining picks, the Cards did try to upgrade the defense, who needs to step up in the competitive NFC West. Looking at the roster of the Dolphins, it's not hard to see that the team has set a table for the until now disappointing Tua Tagovailoa. The front office signed 2 excellent offensive line pieces and sent shockwaves into the AFC East by signing Tyreek Hill. The defense was and is one of the better units around and didn't need much attention. It will be interesting to see if Tua can deal with the pressure, because this could be his last chance in Miami. It's now undeniable. Howie Roseman is one of the best general managers in the NFL. He set up the Eagles for success by fortifying the already impressive defensive line and committed daylight robbery by securing the Kobe Dean in the 3rd round. But his most impressive work? Swapping a first round pick for an all-pro wide receiver in AJ Brown, which is considered the heist of the draft. Hurts is now in prime position to make it all work. If he doesn't, then he could be searching for a new job next year. The blockbuster trade for Russell Wilson is a franchise-altering moment. Wilson is still in his prime and looked poised to make it all work for the Broncos. He's having an excellent supporting cast and ditto offensive line. The front office did their best to address the defense as well by signing Randy Gregory and drafting Benito. The AFC West is an arms race, and the Broncos have weapons galore. The Niners don't want to lose their guy, Deebo Samuel, who demanded a trade about a month ago. Since then, the front office received multiple offers, but no offer could please San Fran, so they are in a stalemate with the star Swiss Army knife. Although the Niners suffocated opposing teams last season with the run game, the passing game could use an impulse and Trey Lance could provide just that. If he doesn't, the front office should go back to the drawing board and look for another answer to the question, which QB can bring a Lombardi trophy home? Green Bay traded a superstar receiver to the Raiders in March, but the front office didn't draft a replacement in the first round to the surprise of many. The wide receiver room looks mediocre at best and could use a splashy free agent. The defense was performing at a high level last season, and the Packers added some skill players to the mix to secure the throne in the North once again. The Silver and Black fans have something to root for after a great offseason where the front office added Davante Adams to the already decent offense. Besides that addition, the pass rush got stronger as well, with Chandler Jones now rushing opposite of Max Crosby. The Vegas Raiders should be fun to watch on a consistent basis, and if the game is awful, you should pay attention to Derek Carr's new haircut. We promise you this is worthy of your time. The Ravens are so good at drafting, no GM can come near the ingenuity that Acosta brings to the table. They drafted a unicorn in Hamilton and addressed another needed center with the pickup of Linderbaum. The wide receiver room looks empty, to the dislike of Lamar, but they will find a way. They always do. The AFC powerhouse is back and on the hunt for a playoff spot. The NFC South was relieved when Brady announced his retirement. But he is back with a vengeance. The Bucaneers added impact players in Logan Hall and Goodeke to fill in the vacant roster holes. The rest of the roster is more or less the same, and if Brady slings the ball like he did previous season, the Buccaneers will wind up in the NFC Championship game once again. The Chargers use free agency to improve their defense, will ultimately cost them a spot in the playoffs. In the draft, the front office had one goal in mind: protect Herbert at any cost. And they did with the pickup of Zion Johnson in the first round. The AFC West is as rocked as any division in football, but the Bolts will be ready for the fight. The Rams are one of the two teams to not make a selection in the first 100 picks in the draft since 2009. But who needs draft picks when you've got a Lombardi trophy? The salary cap could hurt them in the long run, but for now they are the defending champions with most of the roster still in place and are the highest rated NFC team in our power rankings. A new game plan on the offensive side of the ball is much needed since Hill left for the Dolphins. The front office added several new receivers via free agency, but the footsteps that Tyreek left behind are huge. Besides this, one of the leaders on defense, Matthew, changed scenery as well. The Chiefs did, however, have an excellent draft. A lot of question marks still remain, but the future is always bright when you have Mahomes slinging the ball. The Bengals picked up some additional offensive linemen to protect the most valued asset, Joe Burrow. In the draft, the front office brought in multiple reinforcements for the defense in selecting Daxton Hill in the first and Taylor Britt in the second. The laughingstock of a few seasons ago is loaded with talent and focused on one thing and one thing only: the Lombardi trophy. The Bills used the draft to put the finishing touches on the most complete roster in the entire NFL. First round pick Elam will start on the opposite of the standout corner White, and Cook brings them some extra juice in the run game. Besides this, they had an excellent free agency with the pickup of Von Miller and the underrated Crowder, who will fit nicely in the slot while Diggs works on the outside of the field. The Bills are loaded on both sides of the ball, and I wish the AFC the best of luck competing against this team. Who do you think is the team to beat? Join me down in the comments section. And if this is the first time around on my YouTube channel and you like what I did, please consider liking and subscribing. Hope to see you next time.